Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful stylish BUBU kaftan. This BUBU kaftan is made with organdy. So you can see the strips at the front, the roses and all that. So in this class, I'll be teaching you how to go about this beautiful BUBU kaftan. Okay, so you can see how beautiful it's actually looking right here. So I am going to teach you the tips and tricks to making it come out the way it is right here. So here you can see what I got for this beautiful dress. You can see how it's looking. It's actually so beautiful. So it's actually a three-piece BUBU kaftan, as you can see right here, and very stylish. You can use it for any occasion of your choice. So in this class, I'll be teaching you the tips and tricks to sewing this beautiful BUBU kaftan the way it is right here perfectly. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn the tips and tricks to how I placed this kaftan. Okay, so stay till the end. So right here I'm making use of, I don't really know the name of this fabric anyway. I just saw it as a sample fabric and I used 2.5 yards for it. So if you're getting organdy for this project, you can get 2.5 yards of organdy for this, but you still need to get extra 1.5 for the dropping. I don't know what to call the dropping anyway, the longer part of it, so making it all together 4 yards for the upper piece. So you can just get 1 yard for the crepe just to decorate the strips. So I'm putting it together right now, the 2.5 yards. I'm putting it together, as you can see. Then after folding it the first time, I'm also going to fold it once again. So I'll fold it again. I'm trying to arrange the patterns of this design. This fabric actually has some beautiful designs. So I just go ahead and put it together again after arranging. So we'll start to cut out the neckline. So I'm going to cut out the neckline right now. So the folded part is going to serve as my front and back neckline. So I just folded my 2.5 yards. So once you fold your 2.5 yards, it will automatically give you a length of 42 inches. So now I'm going to mark out the neckline width. So the neckline width I'm going to work for on this dress, I'm using 3.5 inches on the neckline width. 3.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 3.5 inches. So 3.5 inches, that's what I'm using, and the neck width I use 1.5 inches. So sorry I had some markings right there, but just follow the neckline width of 3.5 and 1.5 for the depth. Then I use 3.5 inches for the neckline for the front. So 3.5 by 3.5 for the front. Next, I'm going to take my shoulder divide by 2. I'm going to mark 8.5 inches because I'm working for a client actually. So this is 8.5, 8.5. So now the length of my sleeve, I'm using 11 inches. From that point, I marked 11 inches for this dress. So I'm going to mark altogether. I have about 18.5 inches. So I'm just marking the 18.5 inches from the center front. So I'll be able to cut out the side of this kaftan. So after marking the 18.5 from the center front, center back to the sleeve area, I'm going to cut it out accordingly. So on fold right here is 18.5. So I'll just go ahead and cut it from top to bottom. So next, I'm going to cut the back neckline, which is 3.5 inches by 1.5 inches depth for the back. So I'll just cut out the back neckline. So after cutting the back neckline, I'm going to open up I'll just open up, as you can see, so we'll be able to cut out the front neckline. So the front neckline, I'm going to neck depth. After arranging it, I'll just go ahead and cut it out, which is the remaining part of the front. So the neckline is ready right now. So this is what I got. So I decided to separate the shoulder line because of the strip. You need to separate the shoulder line. So I cut it out into two. That is what I have here. So back and front is different right now. So we'll start to sew the strip. That is the first project. We are going to sew the strip on those lines. So for my strip, I'm using a crepe fabric. Like I said, 1 yard or 1.5 yards. You place it on fold. So I placed it on fold, and the width of my strip is 6 inches. So I cut 4 pieces of it, 6 inches width. So by the time we fold it and stitch 1/2 inch, the width of the strip will be 2.5 inches. So I'll go ahead to stitch. So I stitch 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and I also closed one end, leaving one other end, just like you sew your belt. So I'll proceed to turning it accordingly. So I'm going to turn all of them. Then I'll go over and give it a good press. So I'm going to turn the 4 strips because we have 2 at the right side and 2 at the other side. So the 4 strips are ready. The length are just the length of that 60 inches. Then later I cut it out. So now I'm going to place it on the front dress. So the part that is stitched close, I'm going to keep it at the lower piece. So I arranged it to make sure it's just at the tip of the lower piece. Then I secure with my pin. So I came out a little bit by, let me say, 3/4 inch from the neckline and place it straight all the way. And I secured with my pin. So I secured with my pin right now, and the next I'm going to do is to stitch one side of this strip. You can also decide to stitch the 2 sides. So you can see I left about 1 inch, so I'll be able to fold in the down piece. So you have to pin it down before you stitch so it does not move from its line. It needs to be straight. It needs to maintain a straight line. So I'll go over to stitch them. I actually stitched the both sides, as you can see, but I'll advise you to stitch only on one side, the side that is towards the center front, leaving the other side flipping. So the distance between one strip and the other is 8 inches. So you can use your bust pants nipple to nipple measurement for the distance between one strip to the other. So but I just use 8 inches for this project, and I secure with my pin. So I'll go over to stitch right now on one side. Okay, so after stitching, I cut out the excess I have, and I also make sure I have this at 8 inches. So I'll bring in the next strip. The next strip will be by the side of the other strip. So I gave a gap of 2 inches to 2 inches all the way from the top to the bottom. So I also went ahead to sew on one side too. So after stitching all of them, this is what I got. You can see how beautiful it's actually looking right here. So we are done with the front piece, and I'm going to take it away. We are going to work on the back piece right now. So here is the back piece. The next thing I'm going to do is to fold it into 2, so we'll be able to have a keyhole. This kind of neckline we have is actually a high neckline, so you need to cut open a keyhole for it. So I took the measurement of my key buttonhole, and I am taking 4 inches for it. So I just go ahead and arrange the neckline and cut off 4 inches, as you can see right there. So here is 4 inches I cut now. So 4 inches. So this is what I got. So I made a loop for it for my button. So just make a loop. I use the fabric to make a loop. So I've already pinned it down. Then the next thing we are going to do is to cut out the facing. So for the facing right now, I have to place the fabric. You can see how I place the back fabric on top of the facing. So make sure you cut out a facing that will just cover, very well. So I secured it with my pin, and I'm going to stitch half an inch, as you can see right now. I'm stitching half an inch just beside the keyhole. So I'll just stitch in a V shape like that. So after stitching, I'm going to cut it out. I'll first of all cut the keyhole inwards towards the V shape, and then trim out the neckline, as you can see. So after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to flip all the seams. So I'm just trying to trim it neatly. So after trimming it, I'm going to flip all the seams to the part of the facing right now. But I thought of reducing the facing because it's actually looking so big for a keyhole facing. So I just went ahead to trim it off to my desired measurement. So you can do width of 2.5 or 3 inches for the facing. So I kept trimming and trimming till I got exactly what I wanted. So here is okay. So next is to flip all the seams to the part of this facing and top stitch. After top stitching, I gave it a good press. As you can see, you can tack, you can use your hemming gum to stick. So I've sewn the shoulder neckline, the shoulder line, as you can see. So now I cut out a piece of fabric of 1.25 width to bias the neckline. You can use a bias matching color too. So I'm done with that. You can see what we got. So the dress is almost ready. So I'll insert my button on that piece. So now I'm going to open up the dress right now because we want to sew the cape. I'll call it a cape, so that cape I use organdy fabric. So I used 1.5 yards of organdy fabric, and I divided it into 4 parts, and I got 17 inches. So this is 17 inches in length. So I have to join them together now. So the part I join will serve as my shoulder line. Okay, so it's 1.5 yards, and I folded it into 4 to get 17 inches in length. So the width of what I cut out from my fabric here is 12 inches. So the 12 inches, I have to merge it with the 17 inches and stitch on one side first from top to bottom, just to enclose the cape. So I'll go ahead and stitch now one side. So after stitching one side, this is what I got on one side, and I brought it to the other part and stitch close. So you can see the organdy is overlapping on the other side. So it all depends on your choice. You can cut the both fabric the same length if you want. So the next I'm going to do now is to stitch close one part. So I'm going to stitch close one end and leave the other end open. So I'll put it together now and stitch close. So after stitching close, this is what I got. The next thing I'm going to do is to turn it to the right side. So I went ahead to turn it to the right side. So after turning it to the right side, you can go ahead and give it a good press. So I'm just trying to arrange that cape. Honestly, the cape is just is not really much attached. It's independent. So now I'm going to give it a good press. After pressing it down, I'm closing the other end. So you can see the other end right now. So this is the second cape. I did it for the for 2 capes. So this is the second one right now. So I'm turning the second one too, so we'll be able to close the ends accordingly. So I'm going to close the end accordingly. So here you can see what I got right here. So to close up this other end, I'm going to flip it to the other side and sew until I'm not able to sew again. So I'll sew to the end and use my hemming gum to finish it up. So you can see what I got there, looking beautiful already. So the 2 capes are ready. The next is to lay the dress and fix the cape. So now I'm going to spread the dress open and I'm going to pin the cape on the second strip. So the cape is going to form the sleeve for us. So I'm going to get the midpoint where I join the two organdy and then place it at the second cape. So I'm going to lift the second cape and place it exactly at the shoulder seam line, and then I'm going to stitch down up to 11 inches. I didn't stitch too much of that cape because it's a flying cape. So I secured it with my pin before I proceed to stitch. So I make sure I arrange it very well because of the fabric type I'm working with. So I'll advise you to work with organdy, okay, all through. The original we are copying is organdy, but my client brought this sample fabric to make it for her anyway. All right, so that is it, and this is what we got. So I kept pinning and pinning and pinning, so I'll be able to sew this cape on a straight line. All right, so I actually wasted a lot of time right here to pin it, because if the kind of fabric I'm working with, if you don't pin it very well, you might stitch at the wrong part, and losing it is not going to be easy because it's going to tear the fabric. So I'm going to stitch. I didn't actually stitch to the end, I stitched halfway. So this is it, I'm done stitching. You can see I stitched halfway up to 11 or 15 inches for the front and 11 inches for the back. So you can see the cape is independent. So next is to put the dress together again at the shoulder seam line and measure out the sleeve. So the sleeve opening, I'm going to cut it out at 11 inches. I'm marking it out at 11 inches. So I just took the measurement of 11 or 12 inches. Okay, I used 12 inches. So I'm going to make a notch at that point. So I took it again 12 inches and made a notch at my sleeve opening. So I'll proceed to stitching or hemming that part. So I just put a little notch of 3/4, so I'll be able to sew the size after sewing the sleeve. So I went to hem from the part I notched. So I have to hem from that part I notched to the other end I notched as well. Alright, so you can see there it's actually looking beautiful. So next is to give it a good press, then put the dress together and sew this side. So you can see the side piece, I'm sewing it right there. So I will stitch it all the way at 3/4 until I got to the end of it. So after stitching, this is what I got. I stitched the other side too. So you can proceed to press it down a little bit and press the sides open. So now we are going to hem the down part of this dress. So I open up the seam lines and I'm going to hem it all around. So we've gradually come to the end of this tutorial. I believe this class was helpful to you. So if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe and turn on your notification bell. We upload videos on this channel every day. Please stay tuned. Thank you.